Hi, everybody. It's the last day of September, and tonight, I guess, I gotta leave for work in about an hour and a half, and I am going to review this ridiculous book called The Sleuth Number 1, Fallen Angel, and it's about a rich... So there's the cover. Isn't that hilarious? So the book opens, and a young woman by the name of Dorothea St. George has been horribly, brutally, ritualistically murdered in a satanic ritual of some kind. That's all they could figure out. Black mass kind of thing. And they figure there's 4 or 5 perpetrators. One of them left a cigarette butt with lipstick on it, so they figure it's a young woman. And it's about... Oh, this book was terrible. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars out of 5. And just barely that, because it was not a very good read. So, Philip St. George is a gazillionaire, playboy, whatever. And the way that he's described, I'm going to read this to you. It's just... And he's all of 21, and yet he's scaled Everest, mastered the Matterhorn, located a lost tribe of headhunters in the Amazon, scouted the bottomless Marianas Trench in a submarine of his own design, traced the ruins of the prehistoric Mayan civilization in Central America, and once, believe it or not, he volunteered for the 1,000 miles an hour sled ride at a NASA base due to some string pulling with a U.S. senator who knew his father, the senior St. George. In short, Philip St. George is the complete daring young man, equipped with brains, imagination, and a thoroughly live-for-the-second outlook on life. And all of this was made possible by the blessings of an incredibly healthy body, 6 feet 2 inches tall, 185 pounds of whipcord muscles, a mind bordering on Einstein IQ, and the inheritance at age 21 of the 10th largest private fortune in America, the St. George restaurant chain. Oh, so he's not 21. Okay, he's a little bit older. No, I thought that he was still in his 20s. But anyway, so he's done all these things, right? And he's got this beautiful, stunning, gorgeous, sweet wife who is never described as anything other than beautiful. She never has any agency. And the only thing that actually happens is that she's a nice woman and she's murdered. And her murder is described in loving detail. For 12%, the first 12% of the book is all about this woman's murder. This woman's graphic, horrible, disgusting murder. It starts in the library, and her body parts are scattered all over the place, and ritualistic, terrible things happen to her. So, so Philip St. George kind of disappears, as he probably should for a while. And the police take over, and they do their investigation, but they never find the perpetrators. So he goes to visit his lawyer, this guy named Sidney Kite, and he gives him this 3-page list of things that he has to have. And it's all like, whatever, bullets and torture devices and gas and all this other stuff, right? And it takes a page and a half to actually lead up to what's in the letter. We can't just see the list and let ourselves decide how horrible it is. And that's one of the main problems with this book, and what makes it so bad is that every little thing is just horribly overdescribed. I mean, the author doesn't let the reader for 1 second decide how they feel about something. Like, they just have to tell and tell and tell and tell, and it just gets really annoying. So then he also goes and talks to a PI. So now that he set himself up to be some sort of Batman in a monk's robe, and the PI tells him what he knows about the case and about the details and so on. And then there's the completely, inexplicable sentence here, where the... Sorry, I just got to find the actual... So there's the list. Yeah, so he has his conversations with Bell private investigators. And this guy, Mr. Bell, is the one who explains to him what they're kind of looking for. So he explains to him that they're probably young. Little basic character thing. And then here's what is just the most inexplicable and idiotic comment. And he says, "Is there anything else you can tell me? Is this just the sort of insider's dope I knew I could get from you? Anything at all?" "Yeah," Bell said, "there is. One or all of the murderers is a homosexual. That's the bottom line of the entire case, if you accept homicide's opinion." What? I mean, this is... And I think that really was what killed it for me right there. I mean, what about a murdered woman indicates that somebody's homosexual? Like, what does one have to do with the other? So Philip says, "Well, that doesn't make sense. She was raped, subject to every sexual perversion in the books." "That's what certifies it for Halpern," Bell said very patiently. "According to him, when so much bloodletting shows up, an orgy in fact, he always looks for homosexual. Bloodbaths and excessive physical brutality and vicious sexuality are the sure signs, and he's the man who ought to know if anybody does." "Halpern?" "Halpern," Bell repeated. "He didn't work this one, worse luck, because they retired him some months ago. But for like 40 years and maybe 5,000 corpses, he was New York's #1 man, the medical examiner. He knows the case, though." Now, you would think a doctor would have a little bit more sense than to say that sort of thing about... Anyway. Yeah, so the homophobia in this is just unreal. And so is the misogyny, because there are 2 women in the entire book, and both of them are described in... Pretty much they're just described by their racks. Like, I mean, all we get about Dorothea is she was stunningly beautiful and she was murdered. And then we have the other character, which leads us to the perpetrators. So these 4 chucklefucks decide, rather than, getting as far away from the scene of their crime as possible, they're going to go hide out in a cave within walking distance. They hide out there for a few days, and then once sort of the investigation settles down a little bit, they decide to walk back and go rob the place, which is the most idiotic decision yet. So our perpetrators are this ugly, hunchback little creature by the name of Wolfman, and he hates everything and everybody because he's an ugly little man. And his sort of girlfriend, who is apparently some kind of trust fund baby who ran away, and he calls her Baby Jane. And every scene we have with her must point out that she has ginormous tits. That's pretty much all. She's got ginormous tits. Oh, and she's with Wolfman because he beats the crap out of her and she loves it for some reason. And then there's Doc, who is a medical school dropout, and he's the one who kind of holds the instruments. And then there, yes, is the homosexual of the bunch, who is dubbed Dracula. Right, and the nicknames are Wolfman's idea. He pulls them from the old black and white horror films from the 30s, right? So these idiots decide that they're going to go back to the scene of the crime. Now, I mean, you have a rich guy with all of this stuff at his disposal, and you would think that they would at least have the sense to figure out who they were, murdering before they go there. Or at least try to find something out before they go back. But no, they go back. And then, it turns into a pretty straightforward revenge fantasy. They go back, he captures them all one by one, and there's a whole lot of over-described, ridiculous nonsense about how he captures them. And the worst, though, is the homosexual, the depraved homosexual. You see, we're never actually allowed to forget that this is a gay dude. And when he's captured, right, his capturer has him, totally at his mercy. He's being cut, he's in pain, but then he sees it's a man and a handsome one. So he gets all excited. All of a sudden, he's horny for this guy that's torturing him. It's just like so ridiculous. Oh my God. And I mean, it's so over the top. Like, I get the feeling this guy wanted to write comic books or something. And like, there's almost no character development. The action is not really all that exciting. Everything is over-described, like ridiculously over-described. Let's see if I can find the description of when Wolfman finally gets caught. Because I got to get to about 80 some odd %. Oh, here we go. So Wolfman, all his friends have been caught, and he's out trying to escape, and he says it never occurred to him that the supernatural was in any way responsible for all that happened in St. George Manor. He could sell the devil to the mob, but it wasn't his bag. Not really. It had always been just a great way to turn the suckers on and get what he wanted, like the loyalty and allegiance of Baby Jane, Doc, and Dracula, scare the jerks and rule them all with an iron fist. Wolfman had done that ever since he'd slugged his way out of every jam he'd gotten into or caught at. He could do it again. He would do it again. Because it always worked, like a clock, like a Switch watch. See, everything has to be described 3 times. Until now, at least. He was just beginning to pant from the exertion of the long run, gaining nearly the crest of the rising hillock when he had to stop, pulled up short by the materialization of the most incredible thing at all. The topper, the living end, the climax to everything. Philip St. George loomed before him, hooded, robed, the large shining crucifix glinting from his breast, the voluminous sleeves extended like bats' wings in the sky as if asking for benediction or the help of powers beyond mortality, powers not of this earth. There was something eerie, unearthly, heart-stopping about the suddenness with which he appeared, as if he had stepped out of nowhere or crossed from one world into another, a phantom avenger. For a fatal instant, Wolfman was stopped cold, dumbfounded, relentless, rendered powerless to move, to act. He could only stare. See, everything has to be described 3 times. It gets really irritating. So anyways, he gets his revenge, and so then, all along I've been kind of waiting for the sleuthing of it, but no, apparently that's going to be saved for the sequel. So there are actually 2 sequels to this book. I'm not really interested in any of them. It was not, okay, and I picked it up because it was one of the books in Paperbacks from Hell, Satan's Sleuth by Michael Avallone. Somebody might like it. I read it for Satanic September, and it's also Dicktember, so something called the Satan Sleuth. I had to try it, but no, I really didn't enjoy this one. I found it kind of stupid. Maybe I'll read the 2nd and 3rd ones at some point if I really feel like, self-immolation, but mostly this one just wasn't really worth the time I put into it. But I do hope you're having lots of fun. It's the last day of September. We're getting into Halloween. Yay! The best month of the year is here tomorrow. Hope you're reading lots of horror. Have a great day.